Welcome back to What Is, the show where we take a deep dive into the things you think you know, only to realize you actually have no idea. Today, we're hunting for a creature that doesn't exist. Or rather, a creature that shouldn't exist, yet somehow manages to appear in the folklore of almost every single human civilization across history. I'm talking, of course, about the dragon. We are asking, what is a dragon, and why does every culture have one? If I asked you to picture a dragon right now, you'd probably see a massive four-legged lizard with bat wings, breathing fire, and sitting on a pile of gold coins like a scaly, disgruntled billionaire. But if you asked someone in the Han Dynasty, they'd describe a chimera with the body of a snake, the scales of a carp, and the antlers of a stag. If you asked an Aztec priest, they'd tell you about a feathered serpent that controlled the wind. How is it that cultures separated by thousands of miles and vast oceans, people who didn't even know the other existed, all collectively agreed that giant scary reptile was the ultimate boss fight of mythology? Before we solve the mystery of why they're everywhere, we have to define what a dragon actually is. The word itself comes from the Greek drakon, which literally means huge serpent or one who sees clearly. In the ancient world, dragons weren't necessarily the polished monsters we see in CGI movies. They were basically the junk drawer of mythology. If a creature was big, reptilian, and generally unpleasant, it was a dragon. In the West, the dragon is the ultimate antagonist. It represents chaos, sin, and the untamed wild. In European folklore, dragons are essentially giant, fire-breathing landlords who refuse to fix the plumbing and eat your sheep. They are there to be killed. St. George did it, Beowulf did it, and every knight in every fairy tale did it. To the Western mind, the dragon is a hurdle to be jumped, a symbol of nature that must be conquered by man. But then you head east, and the vibe changes completely. In China, Japan, and Korea, the dragon isn't a monster, it's a god. These dragons don't breathe fire, they breathe clouds. They are benevolent, wise, and associated with water, rainfall, and prosperity. They don't hoard gold. They carry a flaming pearl that represents spiritual energy and wisdom. In fact, if a Chinese dragon shows up at your village, you don't call a night. You throw a festival. So, if these dragons are so different, why do we use the same word for them? And more importantly, where did the idea come from? The first theory is the most obvious one: fossils. Imagine you're an ancient Roman farmer or a medieval Chinese miner. You're digging in the earth, and you stumble upon the skull of a Tyrannosaurus rex or a long-necked Giraffatitan. You have no concept of deep time. You don't know about extinction. You just see a head the size of your bathtub with teeth the size of daggers. Your only logical conclusion is, okay, clearly a giant monster lived here, and I should probably move. In fact, dragon bones were a staple of ancient Chinese medicine for centuries. We now know they were actually fossils of prehistoric mammals and dinosaurs. It's hard to blame them for the mistake. If I found a Triceratops horn in my backyard and didn't have Google, I'd assume a demon lived under my patio, too. But fossils don't explain everything. They don't explain why we gave them wings, or why we decided they breathe fire. To understand that, we have to look into our own brains. Anthropologist David E. Jones proposed a fascinating and slightly terrifying theory in his book, An Instinct for Dragons. He argues that the dragon is a composite of the three most dangerous predators that our primate ancestors faced for millions of years: the snake, the eagle, and the big cat. Think about it. Snakes are the slithering, scaly bodies. Eagles are the wings and the talons. Big cats are the teeth and the predatory grace. For millions of years, the monkeys that survived were the ones who were terrified of these three things. Over time, our brains might have merged those fears into one universal superpredator: The dragon isn't a creature we saw in the woods. It's a creature we built in our nightmares to keep us alert. It's an evolutionary danger sign. We didn't invent the dragon. We inherited it. This would explain why dragons appear even in places where there are no dinosaur fossils to be found. Take Australia. The Aboriginal people have stories of the rainbow serpent, a massive, powerful being that created the mountains and the ridges. In the Americas, you have Quetzalcoatl, the winged serpent god. Everywhere you look, there is the big snake. But the dragon didn't stay a simple snake. As human society got more complex, so did the dragons. They became mirrors for our own societies. During the Middle Ages in Europe, dragons were used as metaphors for the other. They represented the pagan wildness that Christianity was trying to tame. Killing a dragon wasn't just about saving a princess. It was a metaphor for the triumph of the church over the old ways. Meanwhile, in China, the dragon became the symbol of the emperor. Only the emperor could wear robes with a five-toed dragon. If you were a commoner caught wearing a dragon shirt, well, let's just say you wouldn't have to worry about what to wear the next day. The dragon was the state, powerful, terrifying, but ultimately the source of order and life-giving reign. So, why are we still obsessed with them today? Why do we have Game of Thrones, How to Train Your Dragon, and Dungeons and Dragons? I think it's because the dragon is the only monster that is truly complete. A werewolf is just a guy with a grooming problem. A vampire is just a goth with a diet restriction. But a dragon is the elements personified. It has the earth in its scales, the air in its wings, the water in its origins, and the fire in its gut. The dragon represents the unknown. In ancient maps, explorers would write "Hic sunt dracones," here be dragons, over the parts of the world they hadn't mapped yet. Today, we've mapped the whole planet. We've been to the moon. We have satellites that can see what you're having for lunch. But we still keep the dragon around because we need that sense of wonder. We need a creature that reminds us that the world is bigger than our fences and our spreadsheets. Whether it's Smough guarding his gold or Haku flying through the spirit realm, the dragon is the boundary between the world we know and the world we imagine. The dragon is the ghost of our ancestors' fears, dressed up in the jewelry of our imagination. It's a creature that shouldn't exist, but because we keep talking about it, it's more real than most animals that actually do. So, the next time you see a dragon on a screen or in a book, remember, you're not just looking at a big lizard. You're looking at 1,000,000 years of human evolution, fossilized bones, ancient gods, and the universal human need to put a face on the things that go bump in the night. Thanks for watching this episode of What Is. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Horde, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss our next exploration into the history of the world's most fascinating ideas. And tell us in the comments, if you had to face a dragon, would you try to slay it or would you try to tame it? Personally, I'm going with the taming option. Parking would be so much easier. See you next time.